Perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Gershon, and I am live at the Biotech X event here in Santa Clara, California. I am absolutely thrilled to be here. The energy is palpable. The sponsors here and the exhibitions are world class. I want to introduce you to the host of today's event. She's just going to say a few words to introduce us to our first live event here at Biotech X.
Hi everyone, I'm Eloise. I'm from Biotech X, producer here, and it's so lovely to have Dr. Gershon here today with BetterHealth, with Endeavour Venture Funds. He is kindly chairing the AI and drug development track today, and it's so lovely to have him here. And it's great to see you. In the rooms, and it's so lovely to have you here. And
thank you so much, Eloise,
okay.
And thank you for Biotech X. It's going to be a terrific conference. So let me now get on with an incredible introduction to really Ping Ye, Randy Schiestl, who are part of an overall AI movement within healthcare that is really reshaping patient outcomes. But first, before I introduce them, let me thank everyone for signing on today. It's an exciting opportunity really to contribute your thoughts and comments in a live open source format. I encourage everyone to please feel free to reach out to Ping and to Randy and myself for questions. And if you do, please let us know where you're logging in from. And please put your email in if you have questions that we can't answer today. We will get back with you. Like in every kind of format, we go over each week a little bit about what we can expect from the open source platform. BetterHealth believes strongly that we should highlight the emerging companies that are doing incredible things in healthcare. And we should, as part of this process, bring to a forum for collaboration and partnership opportunities. These opportunities are here today with Ping and Randy, and I want to present them really as both visionary leaders who have come together in a very personal story, which brings an important part of healthcare to patient empowerment, which is diagnosis of cancer. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Ping Ye, who is the CEO of Vocxi Health, and Randy Schiestl, who is the COO of Vocxi Health and a veteran of Boston Scientific. Randy and Ping, welcome. I'd love for you to introduce yourselves and tell the watchers of the webinar a little bit about your journey, how you got here, and how you work together as entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Dr. Gershon. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. I'll take a first swing at this. Hi, everybody. Ping Ye, CEO of Vocxi Health. I'm a serial entrepreneur now, and I arrived at this spot in my career through a pretty circuitous journey. I started out as a nanotechnologist and in the tech industry, actually, for about 15 years, bringing a lot of new technologies to market, both in the hardware and software side of things. And then about 10 years ago, actually got diagnosed with blood cancer. And that in of itself was a pretty difficult journey. And that's when I transitioned into the world of health technologies. So the last decade has been immersion in the world of health tech and helping companies and starting my own company in the world of bringing better health to patients, given my personal background and experience with the disease of cancer, in my case, blood cancer. So now I'm with Vocxi Health and really excited to lead the team forward to bring this incredible technology to many, many patients around the world.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Ping. Hey, Randy Schiestl here. Glad to meet everybody virtually. Glad to be part of this seminar and a lot to share here today. My name is Randy Schiestl. I'm the And I've spent a few decades prior with Boston Scientific, running the global R&D organization, working with the 7 divisions of Boston Scientific, and launching multiple products. We've got a great journey ahead of us, and we're working hard to bring this new technology to commercialization. It's been exciting to get started here with Vocxi Health and look at ways to bring technology from a large company working with University of Minnesota into a startup environment like Vocxi Health, where we can move quickly, make decisions quickly, and make progress. So exciting journey ahead.
That is absolutely a perfect setup, Randy. Thank you so much for that, because very often young entrepreneurs don't understand the power large strategics can play. At Endeavor, we're very, very focused on bringing strategic partners to early stage companies quickly. I want you to talk really to the CEO entrepreneur out there and let them know your experience, both from the inside of a large corporation like Boston Scientific and what the thought processes inside the company are for engaging with early stage companies. And then secondly, I'd like you to talk about your experience from the outside in, really as an entrepreneur, and how that interaction looks.
Well, we've got a great story, and it started a few years back with Boston Scientific, teaming up with University of Minnesota, leveraging some technology through licensing, and then sponsoring some research, joint research, developing a really robust IP portfolio. And Boston Scientific, a big company, global company, working within the company on a startup program like this is exciting in that there's a tremendous amount of resources available: people, equipment, instrumentation, labs, etc. Along the way, we decided that the fastest path for this technology would be to spin it out from the large company into a startup. And pleased to say that between Boston Scientific and the University of Minnesota and Vocxi Health, we've made that happen. And as of September 2022, we've stood this up as a standalone company with continuing support from Boston Scientific, working within the facility here in Arden Hills, Minnesota, and continuing to work with the University of Minnesota, both on the engineering side and on the physician side. So the perspective from being within the big company was one of large resource capability, and the perspective of working from a startup is the speed and efficiency of moving forward with design, manufacturing, and marketing decisions. Great perspective.
That's a great overview. And Ping, I'd love for you to chime in there. Again, from an entrepreneur perspective, very often the CEO entrepreneur feels that large companies won't give them the time of day, frankly, until they reach a certain stage in development. Let us kind of get an inside perspective from your field of vision of what your interactions look like.
Well, I think there's 3 points. The first is the interactions, when there is a very clear use case of a technology for the larger corporate, let's say, and that use case is, in our case, a platform that can move huge aspects of the market, there can definitely be interest and pull. And it's, we're seeing that even today with Vocxi in terms of the level of interest from even CVCs, corporate venture capital. I would say that from an entrepreneur standpoint, there is a sense of process that you need to go through. There are processes with larger organizations and that you need to step through. But if you're patient and go through that, I think there can be some really good outcomes.
Fantastic. Now let me shift a little bit to the technology, because at the end of the day, for us at Endeavor, it's a combination of 4 elements for investment. The first is the CEO and the team. Is the CEO somebody that has a team that can execute on the vision? Is the CEO someone who can adapt and pivot and grow in an interactive process with strategics, with investors, to take feedback on a regular basis and actually slingshot and accelerate out of that feedback? Is there a strategic who's interested potentially in investing or in acquiring the company? Is there high demand and is there high liquidity? That's our 4 points for evaluating companies. I'd like to shift over now into the technology, which of course is what the magnet is in terms of bringing investors and strategics to play. Please give us an understanding about this incredible technology, which allows incredibly rapid diagnosis in a platform of use cases.
Sure. I'll take a first shot at that, Dr. Gershon. Essentially, Vocxi Health and the team over the years have created essentially a breathalyzer for cancer. You can see that as under my tagline, under my name. And that's probably the best description because of what they've created. So if we look under the hood, what was created was a new type of sensor. The team and the patents call it a varactor, a variable capacitor. And it's really the blend of 3 things: nanosensor, graphene, or a single atomic layer of carbon, which has unique quantum mechanical properties, and molecular sensing, or unique chemistries. So the world of these 3 worlds have come together to blend into one sensor that has the specificity to pick out key chemicals in the breath called volatile organic compounds that relate to various aspects of our metabolism and aspects of disease. And so by leveraging AI or machine learning and deep data science work, we're able to look at the signals coming off of these sensors when they interact with chemicals from the breath. So in short, we're taking chemical information from the breath and turning it almost instantaneously into electrical information or electrical patterns. And we leverage data science to study these patterns to differentiate between the different groups that we're studying.
Absolutely fantastic. I mean, for many, many years, people have been trying to harness their understanding of volatile organic compounds and be able to pull that data in insightful ways. I think we're finally here with Vocxi to make the statement that patients have a sense of empowerment when using a breathalyzer biomarker like this. It allows part of what we consider a major theme to begin to unfold. That is a shift from hospitals to physician offices, finally to patient homes. Over the next decade at Endeavor, we believe that patients will be more and more empowered with self-care, self-awareness, self-diagnosis being a part of that major process. I'd like you to talk a little bit about the extension of this technology as more and more patients become comfortable and their mindsets shift to a sense of empowerment. What do you foresee over the next many years as you go through the approval process and the go-to-market of this product? Where do you see diagnosis going in terms of other indications for use?
Yeah, I think first off, if we think about the environment that we've just come from in terms of the major height of the pandemic, I think there's been a major shift in how society thinks about getting diagnosed with various diseases and being able to do it simply, quickly, effectively, and at home. I think that we have the potential to really shift the patient journey and using a device that's so non-invasive and easy to use. And I think that what's really cool about what the team has developed isn't necessarily a device that looks for lung cancer patterns or other cancer patterns. What they really devised was a new instrument and platform that measures volatile organic compound patterns. And so that opens up many, many, many doors that go throughout the world of cancer, but also beyond. So if you're looking at any kind of metabolic shifts in the body, it could even be an injury, it can be an infection, it could be any kind of metabolic shift that can be presented in volatile organic compounds, this might be a device that can pick up those shifts and patterns in the very earliest stages of disease. And I think that's the tremendous potential of this. We'll stay focused as a startup, focused on particular intended use of lung cancer. But as you point out, there is a tremendous potential with this platform.
Fantastic. I want to shift over to Randy. On an operational side, what do you need to bring this incredible technology to market? Give us an understanding about the processes that you're going through. And it's also an opportunity really to call for collaboration or partnerships for things and for people and organizations that assist you in this journey.
Well, I think as you talked earlier, Dr. Gershon, it's a great opportunity to engage the physician and the patient and moving ahead in the world of technology to bring this particular technology into the hands of patients worldwide, where we can leverage, like many great inventions, things that are in nature. And as you think of a dog and the sensory capability of a dog's nose, the rich environment of volatile organic compounds inside the human body is a tremendous opportunity for us to explore and bring to reality. What we are doing in the design side is really moving from the feasibility portion of the program through design, development, validation, verification, full manufacturing and process development into commercialization. And that journey over the next 2 years will be really exciting, along with clinical trials and work with regulatory organizations in order to gain approval and make this device available to physicians worldwide.
Fantastic overview. I want to dial down a little bit more. As you know, I'm a former FDA attorney, a former CEO of a clinical research organization. So I have a keen understanding of what's required to be able to go through the regulatory process. Talk to me a little bit about that process. And again, on a practical basis, to let CEO entrepreneurs know that it's not really the case, that the FDA is this, almost insurmountable hurdle. Talk to me about your engagement with the FDA, your design of clinical trials, and that process, which I hope, through some of your comments, will begin to demystify things for CEO entrepreneurs who really look at that, as a tremendous obstacle. I would also say that investors also look at that process somewhat as a tremendous obstacle, incorrectly. So you have tremendous experience with Boston Scientific. Tell me about now, as an insider, as an entrepreneur, your interactions with regulatory agencies and really a go-to-market strategy, which includes clinical trials.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned it, go-to-market. In order to get to market, you need good alignment with the internal resources to bring this to manufacturing, as well as the third-party resources, regulatory bodies, and clinical organizations to help demonstrate the analytical and clinical validity of the device. We look at the FDA as another great resource, other regulatory bodies as well. It's a resource to get feedback, to stay in touch with, to explore different avenues of device technology, connectivity, PHI, data handling, cybersecurity, all of those big features of any device coming to market in today's world. A pre-sub, for example, is a great way to get some feedback from FDA in order to understand early what their thoughts are about the technology, about the regulatory pathway or clinical pathway that we intend to follow. Breakthrough device designation is another great pathway to really bring new technology to market in an efficient way.
Fantastic. And now kind of back over to Ping. Very often when I see investors, they look at a CEO entrepreneur in a very kind of focused way. The primary focus is for the CEO to be able to be a good salesman, frankly, and to be able to raise capital. And the second really is to be embedded in the vision and in the story. I think that there's many more things that a good CEO has to do. Talk to us about the team that you have really at Vocxi. You know, the secret sauce is often found in that connection between the CEO, COO, people at the C-suite, and the teams. Give us an understanding of what is it like as a CEO to be able to enroll your team members and to be able to drive this forward. You've been working in this company for several years now. Share with us some of those experiences on the team building side.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the most important things CEOs have to do, which is to align the team after towards a clear vision. And I think this team has really dedicated themselves to this technology. When I first met them almost 2 years ago now as an advisor, before they asked me to lead the company, I was really impressed by the fact that they've been working for years together on this technology to move it forward. Because as many investors know, one of the biggest challenges is, will the team stay together? And will anyone depart and things like that. And I think that this team is committed to each other for many years now. I think for some 8-9 years, to bring this to patients. And so I was just very, very happy to see that level of commitment. And as you can see from Randy and his decades of experience at Boston Scientific and the others that also worked at Boston, they could have easily remained in their positions and had a wonderful career. And to, in some ways, take that extra risk to step out and retire early to bring some game-changing technologies to the world, I think says a lot about how much they believe and know how much this platform is going to shift the experience of patients and then their families. And I think it's if I allow myself to step back to see what this essentially a handheld breathalyzer might become, I'm almost in awe by the different applications that it will eventually touch.
Fantastic. Let's just talk a little bit more about the team and enrollment. Do you feel that that there is a sense of pride that your team brings kind of to the community about the work that you're doing? What is that kind of team spirit? Can you represent to us about the things that are palpable in terms of day-to-day interaction with your team, and how does that kind of contribute to the success of your company?
Absolutely. And I think one of the key ways to define a culture is to clarify, your values. And up on the wall, we have those values listed, and I'll name off a couple for you. I think innovation, of course, is when we interact with the investors or stakeholders that are interested in working with us, they clearly see we're on the front end of a new technology and our creativity and bringing that forward. I'll also say, though, that there's tremendous integrity as well. And I think this experienced team understands that when you deliver, when you set an expectation, you deliver on it. And I think that's really impressive. I think sometimes with those that are maybe green to managing projects, it can often be too rosy. I think this team has gone through, my last count when I asked the team, dozens of FDA approvals on the medical device side. So they definitely bring a sense of realism through experience. Another one is just appreciation is another one of our values, actually. It's just to appreciate the fact that we're literally leading a technology that could bring a complete shift to how patients are tested, are screened, are diagnosed, are identified with disease. I think we'll move through those stages over time. We'll start with the low-hanging fruit first, but it's just going to be an incredible journey.
So I want to emphasize, the compact quality of this diagnostic, the portability of this diagnostic as part of this shift, to home care and patient empowerment. This is really a very user-friendly device. And it's something, as you said, that is only really limited in terms of its use cases by the creativity and the financing and the final regulatory approval for those use cases. I think that, looking forward, as you said, this could open up an incredible number of doors. And it's really a shout out for entrepreneurs, which is what entrepreneurs do best. Just find ways to bring value to your company by opening up other use case opportunities. I see here quite a number of comments, and I just want to thank people for those comments, really, which underscores, they think, one of the important points about this open source platform. It really brings companies, patients, entrepreneurs, founders all together in a forum. So I want to thank people like who have really contributed to this conversation. Ravi, thank you so much for your comments. Kashif, again, thank you. So many people, I think, are contributing now. It's important to recognize people like Bethany who have dialed in. Dr. Kumar. And Linda, thank you so much for dialing in today. And of course, Jenny, who's our Director of Communications and Leadership. Thank you so much. Grace, thank you for dialing in. Evan from San Francisco, thank you for calling in today. Without the support of our community, really the open platform would not grow. We are accelerating with incredible number of new attendees every week, and I want to thank everyone for dialing in. One of the things here embedded in this conversation is the crystal ball look into the future. I want to get a sense, if we pull back a little bit, about what you see in industry. Because one of the core things that's important for any company to grow after they launch is an understanding of the demand side of this equation from industry. I'll put this to both of you, Randy and Ping. What do you see coming out of industry that can help support the subsector of biomarkers? Where do you see the wind coming in terms of supporting the growth and acceleration of biomarkers? And where do you see the wind kind of pushing back a little bit in terms of hurdles that early stage companies need to overcome?
I can start on that, Peng. If you reach back to some of your early words, Dr. Gershon, about bringing this device to market, we have some really great technologies and partners on our team that help drive connectivity and miniaturization and accessibility and the ability to take this technology and put it into a form factor that can really be leveraged by the individual user in longer term. We've started with a desktop configuration, and now we're moving to the handheld configuration in order to drive that accessibility, in order to bring this device not only into the clinic, but longer term to the field and other uses. And with that quick response opportunity to have a input to the physician on the detection of different diseases, starting with lung cancer, we think that we have a platform that we can really leverage long-term to a large number of different disease states. Ping?
Yeah, I think I reinterpret the question kind of like the pull and the push. I think the pull from industry is the fact that they're seeing the impact of AI, machine learning, data science, grouping that all generally. I think we are at the forefront of a new diagnostic wave that is leveraging these approaches of analysis. Instead of looking at meeting one or a dozen, half a dozen thresholds of a particular biomarker. And if it's there, we are looking at this in a very different way. We're looking at patterns and leveraging machine learning and data science approaches to study these patterns to make learn to produce new information about a potential person's diagnosis or what they may have. I think that there's always the inertia of a community or society to new technologies. I think we've seen in the last decade the transition to liquid biopsy or swabbing and the wave that over the last couple decades, the shift in genomics. I think we are already in the world of metabolomics, and essentially this is a device that gets an on-the-spot reading of one's metabolomic breath print, if you will. And so by being able to create different breath prints for various diseases or ailments, I think it opens up many doors. I think that the pandemic that we've all experienced the last several years has further accelerated the acceptance of being able to have devices in the home that can tell you if you're sick or not. I think we're just taking this on a much more sophisticated level and not just looking at one or two or a handful of biomarkers, but looking at thousands of biomarkers at one time. And it's going to provide a leap forward in that foundational behavior that the pandemic accelerated. We're just going to ride that wave and be a transformational shift forward in that kind of behavioral shift that we saw the last few years.
Yeah, just a fantastic story. You know, I grew up in the era of Star Trek. I look at what you're doing as kind of a tricorder, you know, opening up this whole field, you know, of, you know, metabolic awareness, of physiologic awareness. You know, wearable sensors coupled with your technology are going to be very, very powerful tools. We've had some incredible companies on recently that have really looked at that technology, and the use cases, I think, speak to one important element of what we talked about here, which is pulling insights from large amounts of data. I want to take this opportunity to highlight a couple of companies that Endeavor works with, Komodo and Flatiron. Flatiron, more specifically, is a company that I'd love to introduce you to. This is a company that focuses in only on oncology, has 800 clinical trial centers, and their focus really, as is Komodo's, is gathering large amounts of data, pulling that together to bring together insights. And I think that's really what this is all about. Insights into defining a pathology or a state of wellness, defining a platform that allows patients to be able to monitor their own health and be an interactive voice with healthcare providers. I'd love your thoughts and comments about that kind of wave to the future. And that will be kind of our last and kind of final part of this really incredible conversation today.
Randy, do you want to go first on that one?
Yeah, I think Ping really addressed that in the prior response, and Dr. Gershon, that ability to use big data and machine learning is the transformational message behind the technology that we're bringing to market. That is the big opportunity for the world, is to leverage that data region by region, country by country, person by person, but along the way, looking at the individual health of every person that has the opportunity to assess their health using devices that look at their own personal VOC breath print and compare that with patterns that have been developed over a large amount of data to give physicians more indication, more input on how to treat patients and help them get well. We're pleased to be part of this movement and part of the big data opportunity, and that's what we're working to do. It's a great opportunity. Peng?
Yeah, I think the one word is convergence for us. I think it's the convergence of what Randy just mentioned, big data, machine learning, data science, I think what the team has done is unlocked in a very accessible way a whole new environment, which are volatile organic compounds. It's been studied for decades. The team did not discover them. People have been using gas chromatography or mass spectroscopy for decades. Those devices are the size of, can be the size of a small refrigerator. You're not going to have one of those in your home unless Dr. Gershon has one already. But, but essentially what this team has done is created a handheld device almost the size of a deck of cards that with normal breathing can extract these VOCs that we're expelling every moment of our lives. And by combining that whole new world of VOCs and converge that with the technologies that are accelerating today, it's just going to be an incredible journey. And I'm really thankful to be with the team on that. And I look forward to working with Dr. Gershon and those in his network to accelerate this forward for patients.
I want to thank you both so much for, what I hope will be a series of interviews with you, Ping, and Randy, and hearing the stories going forward over the next many quarters as you move this technology forward through a regulatory process and a go-to-market strategy. I'm excited to be able to work with you. Endeavor is fully supportive of what you're doing. I also want to take this opportunity to thank once again everyone for dialing in today. This is our first live event from a conference. We will be hosting a number of other events live from different conferences in Boston and in New York, as well as the New York Stock Exchange over the next several months. So please stay tuned over the next several weeks. We have people from Microsoft, we have people from in silico medicine, really talking about some of the incredible synergies between what we're hearing today and the overall point of the BetterHealth platform, which is to improve patient outcomes. Thank you, Randy, and thank you, Ping, and thank you, audience, for being here today.
Thanks, Dr. Gershon. And in the words of Star Trek, live long and prosper.
Hang on a second. For everybody out there, thank you again. Please tune in next week. We will be back on our regular schedule on Tuesday at noon Eastern Time. Have a wonderful afternoon.